storm clouds gather. Our borders are beset by evil, both mundane and immortal. How long can we withstand this onslaught? We must form an alliance. We either die alone or survive together.
I concur. This threat is beyond any of us. With the Azur's guidance...
This is just another Algates game. I see many leaders here, but you even speak for your people?
High King, this is not the time for short-sightedness.
Short? There'll be no alliance with elves while I'm High King. Only a reckoning.
We must not be blinded by our own need for power. This is the moment. Your choices will decide the fate of this world. And all that inhabit it. Make the right one!
Here I come. Oh, here I come.
So there we have it. In Creative Assembly's own words, the great bastion into Immortal Empires has been breached. In tomorrow's update, the 17th of February, patch 2.4.0 will bring in a much requested change to the accessibility of the Immortal Empires campaign, the definitive Total War Warhammer campaign experience. Gone will be the requirement to own Warhammer 1, 2, and of course 3. Instead, all owners of Warhammer 3 will now have access to the Immortal Empires campaign, regardless of whether you own Warhammer 1 or 2. There's also changes to DLC. You won't need the base game for DLC to then show up in Immortal Empires. For example, if you want to play as Tomb Kings in Warhammer 3's Immortal Empires campaign, you don't need to own Warhammer 2. You just need to buy the Tomb Kings DLC. You only ever need to buy the base game Warhammer 1 or 2 if you want to play as those base game factions. But any DLC can be bought separately of those base games. We'll go through the full FAQ that Creative Assembly have very kindly given me early access to, both the FAQ for the Immortal Empires changes and the patch notes for 2.4.0. We'll briefly go through them, but links will be in the description where you guys can have a good solid read through yourself. I just wanted to share my thoughts on all this right now. But before we go any further, that teaser at the end of the trailer all but officially confirms from CA themselves, Chaos Dwarves are coming. We had that video from the new content lead, Rich Aldridge, last week, and he hinted that they're aiming for April for the next major content drop, the next major DLC. And it's long been speculated by the community that Chaos Dwarves are coming next. And while CA haven't confirmed it officially yet, that teaser at the end... We're in the mines, lads. There be Chaos Dowie about. Bring on the chorfs. So, who's hyped for Chaos Dwarves? Which legendary lords do you think will be battling it out with Chaos Dwarves? Obviously, I'll be doing campaigns with them when that eventually appears. Hopefully, as Rich hinted at in his video last week, it will be April. My content plan for that will be to do one campaign in Immortal Empires with a Legendary Lord and another campaign in the Realm of Chaos, purely because assuming that they follow their trend that they did with Champions of Chaos and what they've done all throughout Warhammer 2, they should make a kind of more narrative, shorter campaign focused for that smaller Realm of Chaos campaign, which I think will be interesting to show off that side of things. And then, of course, we'll also play one in Immortal Empires for the ultimate sandbox experience. So yeah, bring on the Chaos Dwarves. C8, please bring out the official trailer soon. The content drought is hitting Total War content creators hard, and obviously hitting fans of the series hard that want more content. It's not often you have a community clamoring for additional content as much as this. But yeah, we're thirsty, boys and girls. We want those Chaos Dwarves, and yeah, it's been too long. I'm really surprised that we still don't have a roadmap. I mean, Rich in his video the other week did allude to the fact that kind of dates are still up in the air and they don't want to commit to kind of messing us about or giving false hope with setting dates and then having to change them down the road. But I think the community at large generally needs some kind of rough idea of what's planned. I mean, Rich did sort of outline that they were, I think, aiming for about 3 content drops this year. So 3 DLCs this year or so, which would kind of bring them roughly back in line with the sort of every 3 months that they had new content, new DLC for Warhammer 2. I mean, it's been a rocky 12 months since the launch of Warhammer 3, which its anniversary is tomorrow. But I've never necessarily been uncertain about the future of Warhammer 3. I always kind of believed and still believe that CA will get this right in the end. It just really sucks that we didn't have a solid start to the final part of this trilogy. But obviously the intention is that Warhammer 3 and Immortal Empires will keep on going for a good few years to come. So hopefully we are over the worst of the wait and the anticipation now. And hopefully, going forward in 2023, we will see lots of great new additions, both free and paid content for Warhammer 3. Let's dive briefly into some of the patch notes, and then we'll go through those FAQ changes. Feel free to let me know any queries, questions you have in the comments. I'll try and answer them. If there's enough of them for another video, then I'll kind of do another update next week. So yeah, again, thanks Creative Assembly for giving me early access to the blog post. You guys can have a read through all this via the links in the description. But yeah, essentially, update is out tomorrow, 2.4.0. And yeah, that brings about Immortal Empires to all owners of Warhammer 3. They're also saying that they're dropping the beta tag from it, but that doesn't mean that that's the end of their work on Immortal Empires. They will continue to work, improve, and add additional content over the coming months and years, hopefully. So yeah, the major standout point here is that they've got rid of the requirement to own Warhammer 1, 2, and 3 to face Immortal Empires. Now, anyone that owns Warhammer 3 can dive straight into it, which I think, you know, there's been a very vocal part of the community that's been asking for this for quite some time. And I agree that initially when Immortal Empires came out, that, you know, having that requirement of Warhammer 1, 2, and 3, I think that was fair, because from the very start, they've always said you would need all 3 games to stitch together this massive campaign. But it's certainly been a long enough time now, and especially with the fact that we haven't had a regular DLC and additional content cycle, that barrier to entry needed to be dropped to, I think, keep the longevity of the game, you know, going and looking positive. So while this possibly could have come before Christmas, I think that maybe would have been a better shout ultimately. It's here, and it is a positive change to to Immortal Empires and to the game moving forward. So yeah, if you've got Warhammer 3 and you've played through a couple of Realms of Chaos campaign, either bounced off it hard because you just didn't enjoy it, or you played through it, enjoyed it, but didn't really want to come back for another Realm of Chaos, Realm of Souls, whatever the campaign's called, I always forget. Now is the time to dive back in, because you have a whole new world literally to explore. So good luck. So here's some highlights from update 2.4. Yeah, Immortal Empires, we've gone through that. Carrick 8 Peaks is now a 10-slot settlement for the Skaven. Yes, good. Malice's quest battle for Warpstone of Cain is now in the Chaos Waste, close to his starting position. Fixed a variety of visual graphical glitches, such as clipping capes, snapping models, and broken animations. Garrisons are no longer reinforcement and now enter the battle from the start. Good. Fix a multiplayer desync that would occur when the Empire player chooses to summon the elect accounts. Curdle will no longer immediately enter the battle instead of reinforcing once the Waystones are destroyed in Drytia's quest battle. Interrogating Grom the Paunch at Athol Tamara as Eltharion now correctly gives Mistwalker units the ability to mirror Grom's Big War ability. Wow. Fixed an issue where Boris Ursus wouldn't gain supporters while the invocation of Daza is active. So yeah, they're going to be working, keeping an eye on feedback and adding that all in. So that's how to install it from the various stores. A release spotlight. Gates are well and truly open. So yeah, if you own Warhammer 3, you'll now be able to access and play Immortal Empires with Demons of Chaos, Grand Cathay, Khorne, Kislev, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, and you will get access to Warriors of Chaos, Be'lakor. He was the free lord that came with the Immortal Empires Champions of Chaos release back in August last year. So you get Warriors of Chaos without requiring the Warriors of Chaos DLC, but he's the only one you get if you want to play as Archaon, etc. You will need the Warhammer 1 DLC, Warriors of Chaos, but you won't need to own Warhammer 1. You can just buy that DLC separately. So yeah, in addition, you may access the other races and legendary lords by purchasing the corresponding base game or DLC, the latter of which can now be purchased regardless of whether you own the parent title. So yeah, you do not need, oh, they've actually used the same example I did. Rise of the Tomb Kings, you can buy that without owning Warhammer 2. Good stuff. You'll be granted ownership of any free DLC associated with each race that you have access to. For example, you'll be granted access to Dwarven Legendary Lord Thoric as part of your Dwarf ownership, which can be done by purchasing Warhammer 1 or the King and the Warlord DLC and then claiming him for free on the storefront from which the prior content was purchased. So if you really want Thoric, but you don't want to spend the money on Warhammer 1 and the King and the Warlord DLC in just its own is cheaper, you can just get that DLC if you're not interested in all the other races. Although I'd probably say you'd want to get Empire and Dwarves and Greenskin, up to you though. But this gives you the ultimate opportunity to pick and choose which lords, which factions you're actually interested in and which ones you want. You don't need to own all of them for that complete experience. Because you'll still be facing those other factions on the campaign. It's literally just if you want to unlock them to make them playable. Gameplay changes, rules and system. Garrisons will once again enter battles at the start as opposed to being held back as reinforcements. Balance changes. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm just going to kind of scroll down and just pick out one or two that I might, take my fancy. You guys can have a look at these. Pause the video or the link in the description. To be honest, I don't think there's any kind of massive major changes, just a few tweaks and fixes and tightening up of various bits that have slipped through the cracks, porting a lot of these kind of older factions from 1 and 2 into Immortal Empires and Warhammer 3. Animation errors. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything massive in there. I think the main thing about this update is the barrier to entry for Immortal Empires. I mean, actually, probably Skaven. Carrick 8 Peaks now being a 10 slot by the Skaven is solid. Clan Eshin now starts with an Eshin Sorcerer here instead of a Warlock Engineer. Yeah, okay. Clan Eshin's sudden kill scheme no longer provides 2 simultaneous speed bonuses. Okay. Animation clipping on the Curry's cloak fix. Good. Huntsman General's stumps now display correctly. What are their stumps for? I forget. Multiplayer, we got a fixed desync error that occurred in multiplayer campaigns when an Empire player chose some of the elect accounts. Yeah, we saw that already. UI fixed several instances of characters being too close to the camera in the porthole view. Exciting times are ahead for Warhammer 3 as update 3.0. The next on the horizon shapes up to be the game's most engaging and in-depth content drop ever. So most likely, I'd assume that is the one that will come alongside Chaos Dwarves, which, if they're able to stick to, I guess, their current plans and schedule, Rich alluded to that hopefully coming in April, but still kind of nothing concrete, nothing locked down. I really do hope we get a roadmap. I don't know, I'd like to say later this month, but maybe in March. It'd be good to kind of, I guess, once they know that they can lock in an April slot for their next DLC, which is totally Chaos Dwarves. I mean, I feel like Chaos Dwarves at this point are a worse kept secret than the Skaven were in Warhammer 2, with CA doing the whole, oh no, yeah, Skaven don't exist. No, don't ignore all the signs and images of Skaven on the logo, and there's totally not rats. There's totally not Chaos Dwarves. Don't look in the mines. No. Worst kept secrets, Chaos Dwarves or Skaven, you decide. But yeah, hopefully April is well and truly the end of the drought. Fresh campaigns from all your favorite content creators, and obviously for just all players in general, fresh campaigns and content to actually play yourselves and get stuck into. Obviously there's some fantastic mods if you're really struggling at the moment but you don't want to give up on Warhammer 3. Still Faith Overhaul have released recently their updated version of their overhaul mod. It will give you so many new experiences in the game. They've overhauled most mechanics and things like that. So yeah, if you need something to tide you over until the DLC drop, check out Still Faith Overhaul. Cannot recommend it enough. At some point I will hopefully get around to doing a campaign in it myself. Okay, so we're now on to the Immortal Empires FAQ. A link to that again is in the description. I just want to show you guys this section of it, the ownership guide, because this is probably the clearest way of understanding how you get access to which legendary lords, which factions, how, what, and why. Basically, what do I need to buy to play as insert character? So for Warhammer 1 base game, if you want access to Dwarves, Empire, Greenskins, Vampire counts, legendary lords of Thorgrim, Grombrindal, Thoric, Ungrim, Emperor Karl Franz, Balthazar Gelt, Grimgor, Azag, Wurzag, Manfred, Kemler, Vlad, or Isabella. You can see there are also some asterisks next to them. Those mean that those characters can also be unlocked if you just buy corresponding DLC. So if you're only really interested in, say, I don't know, Thoric and Grombrindal, and none of the others from Warhammer 1, you could actually just buy the King and the Warlord, which will give you Belegar and Skarsnik, but also give you access to the free LC lords kind of associated with those factions you can claim through the Steam store page of Thoric, Grombrindal, and Wurzag. I actually totally forgot that Wurzag was free LC. So there we go. So yeah, you can kind of just pick and choose DLC. Again, DLC does not require the base game to play in Warhammer 3. So you don't need to own Warhammer 1 if you want to just go through and buy all the Warhammer 1 DLC. For instance, the Chaos Warriors, if you want Archaon, Kolek, and Sigvald in Warhammer 3 to join up with Be'lakor, you don't need to own Warhammer 1 and then buy the Warriors of Chaos pack. You can ignore Warhammer 1 and you can just buy the Warriors of Chaos DLC. So yeah, that's the same for all factions, all DLCs as they go through in the base game, but it just shows you clearly which factions and which legendary lords you unlock, and also free LC corresponding, or how you can get free LC through just either DLC or base game across all the Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2 content. Yeah, that's basically all I want to show you guys from that one, and just kind of wrap up my thoughts. Obviously, I'm super excited for the prospect of Chaos Dwarves. Come on, when do we think CA are actually going to officially announce them? I'm looking forward to seeing what their trailer will be. That was our first glimpse, our first snippet, our first teaser of Chaos Dwarves today. I've got to admit as well, I thought that trailer was pretty darn impressive. The trailer team certainly know how to get you hyped. So Immortal Empires is well and truly here. The definitive Total War Warhammer campaign experience, the ultimate sandbox for any Total War game, the biggest and greatest so far. is now finally here for everyone that has Total War Warhammer 3. And the obviously you get all the quality of life improvements. You'll get all the all the overhaul updates that have been applied through the various years across Warhammer 1 and 2 to some of those factions as well. If you've got the corresponding base game or DLC. So yeah, who are you going to play as first if you're diving into Immortal Empires for the first time? Has this change to base game and DLC kind of detachment, has that maybe interested you in checking out some DLC, picking some up? If so, which are you going to pick up? Feel free, if you want to support the channel, to purchase some DLC or base game through Games Planet. They are an authorized, legitimate key seller. They work directly with game developers and publishers, so in this case Creative Assembly and Sega, to get their keys and discounts. No sketchy grey market key selling or anything like that on Games Planet. Obviously, if you want to buy it somewhere else, feel free to do so. But just a way of supporting the channel and the content if you want to. It's there. They also usually have some absolutely fantastic discounts. And yeah, really appreciate it if you want to purchase anything from there. But if you don't, that's totally fine as well. Screw you, Lionheart. It's all good. Right. I guess that's where we'll leave things for now. What do you make of it all? I think this is a positive step forward. I think it is a belated step forward. I think this perhaps should have come before Christmas, but they've done it at last. I am still positive for the future of Warhammer 3, but I am as frustrated and fed up as much of the community is. Finally, before we wrap things up, I did just want to mention one final thing, because some of you have been messaging me about this. Creative Assembly posted on their social media channels the other day an anniversary stream schedule featuring various content creators this week and weekend to celebrate the anniversary of Warhammer 3's release. And quite a few of you messaged me saying, Lionheart, why aren't you on there? Why are they ignoring you? Why have Creative Assembly not chosen to have you streaming for the anniversary? So they haven't ignored me. They didn't not invite me. There was an open invitation to any creators that wanted to be a part of these celebrations. But the main thing for me was availability. Initially, when they posted it, I think they said they only had slots available for the weekend, and I don't stream on the weekend. That's family time. And I'm just generally pretty busy at the weekends anyway. They then said they were going to open up some other slots if there was a lot of interest. But to be honest, I just wasn't interested in doing a celebratory anniversary stream for them this year. While I'm more positive with the state of the game now than I was at launch and those first few months, I honestly don't think there's a huge amount to celebrate for me and the wider community right now, because a lot of us are fairly frustrated and fed up. And while Creative Assembly are now making steps and strides forward positively for the future of the game, and as I've said several times in this video, I firmly believe that there is a positive future for Warhammer 3, and we will get there, and they are getting there. Right now, I don't really feel like being part of the kind of marketing celebration of it all. I've not had any disagreements with CA. I've not fallen out with them, but I have made my frustrations known, as have much of the community, and as have much of the content creators. And I think there's a reason why a lot of the larger content creator channels perhaps didn't choose sign up. Again, I can only speak for myself here, but I think there's a general feeling of solidarity in that we're all a bit fed up with the delays, and I'm sure CA are as well. It's definitely not the release they wanted, but yeah, we're all a bit fed up. And for me at least, yeah, I didn't want to kind of put on a big old smile and song and dance of woo, let's celebrate the Warhammer 3 anniversary. That actually, it's been a really rocky 12 months. We've had some fun. I've enjoyed all my campaigns so far, but it's been, for what was meant to be the great triumphant finale entry into the trilogy, it's like, it fell fairly flat. Once we got Immortal Empires, that was definitely a step forward, but even that was delayed by a lot, and a lot of players were desperately waiting for Immortal Empires, for that definitive experience, for that ultimate sandbox campaign, because Realms of Chaos really divided the community a lot. Some liked the more kind of railroaded narrative. Others really hated it. I think it's all right for a couple of playthroughs, but after that, yeah, I really don't want to go through that again. I am interested in looking forward to seeing what narratives they bring in for additional factions. So, you know, totally not confirmed officially Chaos Dwarves coming next, it seems, through that teaser. It'll be interesting to see what their narrative is like for the Realm of Chaos campaign, because CA don't tend to add them in, you know, hunting, was it Warhammer 2? They were, all the factions added in weren't hunting the Vortex or taking part in that. They were off doing their own thing, which often led to pretty interesting, unique narrative storylines. So that's what I'm looking forward to with that. Obviously, Immortal Empires, everything else. Here's to the rest of 2023 being a positive experience for Warhammer 3, for Total War. Outside of Warhammer, can we have some historical news, please? It's been so long. Historical news, roadmaps would be amazing. Anyway, that's where I'll wrap things up for this rambly update. Share all your thoughts down below. Until the next one, take care and ciao for now.
Enough! We must not be blinded by our own need for power. This is the moment. Your choices will decide the fate of this world. And all that inhabit it. Make the right one.